And here we go. Bob is going to be hanging the wire up here to where it's not hitting the ground.
Probably high speed all the way down.
Oh my goodness, this guy taped it every, 2 feet or something? Just cut that rope if it's going to be in the way. The homeowner taped this every 3 feet. Good job, man. Oh, I love it. Okay. All right. It's going to take a while. Oh, my. You can see how thin this pipe is by the way it's crushing. Let's see. Let's get it out of the sun. This sun is exactly at the wrong spot this morning. See the way the pipe is crushing right there? And it's just way too thin a pipe. What's funny about the poly pipe is that the poly pipe manufacturers Burger King'd the poly pipe over the years. And what used to be like almost a quarter wall, a thick 200 PSI poly pipe, they call that pipe now 250 PSI poly pipe. And the current 200 PSI poly pipe is quite a bit thinner. Not quite as thin as the 160 like this pipe is, but it is. And so continuing on with being able to install the heaviest poly pipe possible in these situations is just a good plan. And why not? This little bar right here is for when a pump is going to be installed. So you put your wire reel right here, and that's been really handy. On our trucks, we always mount the wire reels on the hoist so that the wire is dropping right over our shoulder as we're installing it. You'll see that in the next video. So anyway, this is no pain, no strain. Now, the reason why I got pretty excited and started building these 35, 36 years ago was because the old driller that got me started in this mess had put a pump, 2 horsepower pump down a 300-foot well, and the pump didn't work, and it was on 1.25 inch poly pipe. So it had snowed. This sounds like one of those I've walked to school uphill both ways for 5 miles stories, but it had snowed, and old Gene Lovazoni, the driller, didn't want to go out and work on this because it was bad weather, and there was about 8 inches of snow out in Jerusalem Valley, and he just didn't want to. But the guy that he had drilled the well for and put the pump in for was the owner of the hardware store. So the owner of the hardware store started talking smack about old Gene Lovazoni to every client that came, every person that came in the hardware store. And Gene finally heard about it from a number of people, and then Gene conscripted me to go out to that well in the snow and go hand pull that 300-foot pump, or find out what was wrong with it. Well, what was wrong with it was that was in the days where the pumps didn't have check valves built in, and he had put the check valve on upside down. So thank God we didn't have to pull 300 feet of pump with the wire having, with the pipe having water in it, because that would have been impossible. So there I was at the prime of my life, probably 29 years of age or so, and I'm pulling my first pump on poly pipe. And of course Gene had the well seal and he was walking the pipe back, and I'm busy doing the heavy pull. I thought I died. And it was like, this is flipping nuts. I'm going to build a machine that's motorized to be able to pull these pumps out, because pretty much all the pumps that Gene had ever put in was on poly pipe. So sure enough, I went and built the first machine, and the first machine had a big 36-inch sprocket and had a little pinion gear, and I could not keep that. I could not keep it from twisting off, stripping the keyway. Oh my goodness, I just couldn't keep it at all working. So I ended up building this thinking about it, and it's like, well, why can't I take double 80 chain and weld it onto
This is cheap poly too.
onto mild steel, and just go ahead and make it to where the I put on a lot of them I put a motorcycle sprocket little shock to keep it engaged to push up against it. On this one we made it to where it would free spool with this, and we can just move it and disconnect it, and it'll pivot down. Anyway, so the first one I used for about a year, and I was just always fixing it, always trying to fix that sprocket and the chain and the sprockets. And maybe you guys have better luck with that than I did, but it did not work for me. So then I came up with this idea. Had a half a dozen of these, 2-inch by 3-inch by quarter wall angle irons rolled, built a big table, and with jacking bolts so I could get it exactly round, and welded that chain in. Well, as I'm welding the chain in, I had 2 engineers show up over a week's time or so, and look at me and look at what I was doing and going, you can't weld hardened steel chain to mild steel. And it was like, well, yes I can. And they said, well, it won't last. And I said, well, I guess I'm going to find out. And so that was 35 years ago. And this is the second one that we own from the ones that I built, and there is not a crack anywhere on any of the chain that's welded to the mild steel. And it's this design has worked out 100%. So, being willing to just try things and throwing out the book is just part of our business, and just needs to take place sometimes, and just actually see if conventional wisdom is the truth or not. And I've always been willing to do that. So here we are this morning, 35 years later, no pain, no strain. So at the end of the day, we finally pulled out that pump, 300 feet deep, 1.25-inch poly pipe, 2 horsepower pump on the back of it. I think I was 29 years of age, and I got home, and my muscles were just spasming and so sore, and my back was killing me, and never again. And I haven't done that ever again. Always, and so that's how I ended up building this machinery for handling poly pipe. And it's what's really great about the this poly pipe is that, let's say that this client had the right pipe and this was a proper install and the right size pump and all of that. And let's say that that pump went out. We could roll that whole thing up, the rope, the wire, the whole 9 yards, roll it out of the hole and have that pump replaced and it's back in the hole in probably about 45 minutes. It's so fast. And so in the right applications, there's no reason to not use poly pipe. But there's some reasons why we're not going to on this one. And you'll see that in the next video. So anyway, having a generator on the truck is just always so necessary. And just having the truck set up to where it can be used immediately, effectively, is just part of the game.